I have a plan of attack for legs today. Sometimes I'll kind of just do lifts that I've done in the past, just sort of base them off that. Kind of pick exercises as they interest me in a way. Maybe not interest is the right word, but like once you've worked out for long enough and you've done so many different lifts, you do just know what you want to do next. You don't have to have it completely perfectly written down. But today, quads especially is what I'm talking about. Hamstrings is going to be the same as normal. Seated. Well, the seated curl here was broken, so I guess we'll find out. But either seated curls or laying curls, potentially a touch of RDLs. Actually, not even potentially, definitely some RDLs. I might even do a superset into them because if we're being honest, RDLs for me to hit legit failure is kind of a tricky thing because I end up using glutes towards the end of it, and I mean I don't want to be lifting the weight with my glutes. I want to do all hamstrings. So sometimes what I'll do is use either the hamstring curl as a pre-exhaust and then do a set of RDLs, or do RDLs first and then finish hamstrings off with curls. Just kind of, either or, right? It'd be like doing a set of cable flies before you do a set of Smith machine bench. In that instance, you're kind of pre-exhausting with the squeezing part of the set with the cable flies, and then burning out with pressing. Or if you did pressing first, then you're kind of weakening yourself overall, and then burning out with the squeezing. But in either case, usually it's going to go first movement a little bit lighter, second movement a little bit, no, first movement a little heavier, second movement a little lighter. But sometimes I do it the other way around. I did a set of leg extensions last leg day where the first 10 reps were a lightweight, and I was squeezing as hard as I could to the top, really burning out like that, and then adding, the stack and kind of burning out in a little more of a just burnouty kind of way with sort of quick forced reps. But that's kind of what I was thinking of for today is I want to do a little bit more, and I wouldn't even say volume per se, but for quads, before I move on to what I think is going to be Smith machine squats, yeah, probably Smith machine for sure. Before I get there, I want to really wreck my quads on leg extensions, and not with a crazy amount of weight. And not because I don't think that heavy leg extensions are good. I really do like them. But it's kind of the same logic as when I start triceps off with a set of like rope pushdowns. When your quads are, at least for me, I mean, your experiences may vary, but when you're unpumped, I feel like that's when you can really flex the hardest. Like if I were to sit here and really try to just straighten out my tricep, really just fucking contract it as hard as I could, I just can't. Because towards the end of the tricep lift, as I get more and more pumped, like if you look a little bit closer, whenever I do push downs, when I'm fresh, like the first few sets of tricep push downs, my elbows get complete extension. Same thing on the machine dips. But as I get more and more fatigued, what'll happen is like my full contraction of my tricep only goes to like so far. Just because, I mean, I would imagine triceps just full of fluid. It's not as well, it's not as strong too. But the sensation of doing like a rope push down with a tricep pump and without a pump is very different. So I want to make use of that freshness on the leg extensions. And instead of starting with, pretty heavy weight, start with lighter weight, slower reps, and really kind of fight the burn, as it were. But I think after a few sets of that, my quads should get close to wrecked. And then I can kind of move on to whatever else next. But that's what I really want to start with, is biasing those squeezing sets for quads. Because, and this is something I do think about, like, I don't think that training every muscle the exact same way is really your best course of action. Like I wouldn't, I'm not going to do a set of calf raises where I have so much weight that I like hit failure at 8 reps. Like that seems a little excessive to me. Usually I would do a little lighter weight, kind of burn them out. But sometimes I do heavy weight too, so it's kind of, I don't know. But sometimes I will kind of apply the same style that I do for one body part to another if I do think that it's going to be a good move. When I do biceps and hamstring curls, leg extensions too, I like doing sort of tempo half reps in a way. So let's say you're standing in front of the mirror with your dumbbell, you curl it halfway up, pause for a moment, and then you finish the rest of the curl. You go back down. Halfway up, pause it, and then you finish. Just like her stuff like that. So if you know that you have a particularly good tricep superset that you like doing, like maybe you like squeezing on, maybe you like a lighter weight with a rope, really squeezing as hard as you can, and then immediately adding weight and switching to like a straight bar and doing heavier pushdowns to finish, you can kind of apply that same method to any fucking muscle group. That's what I did last leg day on the leg extensions. Light squeezing leg extensions. I'm talking only like 100 pounds on the stack, and then finishing with kind of nastier heavy ones. So, kind of getting back to, I'd say one of my biggest points is, as long as you're going hard, you're definitely going to do something right. And if you're actually interested in the workouts, which you should be, then you're going to sort of pick and choose and realize, like, okay, this feels really good. And I can tell I'm making decent progress doing this and this. And, well, I don't really love the feeling of that. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it, you know. And from watching so many workout videos, I mean, either like manually, like you're doing right now, or just from scrolling fucking Instagram, seeing all this shit all the time, you will just gradually get more fucking experience as a lifter. So don't fret about, don't fret too much about making sure everything's absolutely perfect. I'd rather you make sure that everything's absolutely intense, you know. So I don't foresee hamstrings taking more than 30 minutes, and then we can get to the actual tricky part of the workout. Because for me, hamstring failure has never been a huge problem. Quads is where it's a little bit more, quads is a little bit trickier to train hard. So that's where I really want to put most of my effort. Not that we're going to go easy on hamstrings, of course, but you get what I'm saying. You know, you've got your, you've got art class in period 1. You don't have to, it's decently easy. You got Calc 3 in period 2. That's where you got to lock in. But I'm sure at the end of this, I'll have a pretty nasty and potentially extra veiny leg pump. But who's to say? As well prepared as I can be, sometimes you never know if you're going to have an off day. But that's a negative mentality. You should always believe you're going to kill it and then make it happen. So let's get started. I think I'm going to start hamstrings the same way I was thinking about quads. Really kind of emphasize the contracted portion of the rep. Because you got to think, here's my mentality. You've got a ton of different kinds of sets that you can fucking do. Even just me sitting here, I could do a few just off the top of my head. So the kind I'm about to do, lighter, only half the stack-ish, and really hold it and squeeze it at the top. That'd be like grabbing the 30-pound dumbbells and holding it really fucking hard, trying to pull your hand to your fucking shoulder. Or I could go much heavier, do kind of more brutish reps. That'd be like curling the 60s, which the benefit is going to have much more tension, but it might not be so easy to hold the weight up top. And more of the work that you're going to be doing is in the process of the rep itself and not actually the contraction. Like when I do, oh, I hope that's not actually true. Leg extension broken. But whatever. So when I do a really heavy hamstring curls, sure, I have a crazy amount of tension on my hamstrings, which I like, but I kind of neglect the contraction. So I usually think of it as like a give and take. You know, heavier sets, you're doing more work, you're physically recruiting more, I would say, of your fucking muscle fibers throughout the whole range of the rep. Whereas with a lighter weight, when you really squeeze on the top, sure, the actual action of the rep may not be so hard, but you make it difficult by squeezing as hard as you fucking do. And if you're a little, let's just say you're injured, you probably tend to lean towards lighter weights just so you don't fucking push it. But no more talking. Let's actually get started. Oh, yes. At least one more like that. Oh my gosh. Fuck. Like two more just like that, you know? And here's something to think about. Well, at least something I'm thinking about is that was what? Failure at, you know, was that 12 or 13 or something? Whatever. Either way, that's like as many reps as I would have done with the entire stack. So that's not to say, like, oh, just make use of as little weight as possible. No, I definitely still think the tension of lifting a lot of weight, or at least a lot of weight within reason for your strength level, I do think throwing some sets like that are necessary. But, you know, time under tension kind of more, let's just say, rapidly onsetting fatigue from using light weight, squeezing it really hard like this. I do like this too. So you've said it a million times. You know, I advocate the even mix approach between heavy and lighter. I was gonna sneeze. A few more. So probably just like right there. Perfect. Okay, now. Two more. One more. That's good. Oh my god. That's perfect. Thanks. A little heavier. Ugh. 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 One more. I might actually just call it after this next one. Ah, I'm going to combine those two sets into a finishing drop set. So heavier, hold it at the bottom for a few seconds for what I would call, portion A of the set. And then when I drop the weight, I'm going to hold it in the squeezing position. So this is, in terms of like the part of the rep that I'm focusing on, this would be the same kind of style as doing like a really heavy press for chest and then doing like pec flies. Because when you do heavy bench, you're working your pec in the whole range of motion, a lot of tension at the bottom, like is going to be on my hamstrings with the heavy weight. And then I'll get more of a squeezing sensation like you would on a chest fly in that little contracted portion with the lighter weight. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking about when I do this. But now all I got to do is fucking blast motionless and white. We go a little heavier too. Okay, hold on there. Okay. Yeah, that's enough. I try to give myself a little self-assistance, but this machine is a little not, let's just say it's not made for that. But hamstrings are cooked. Let's get some leg extensions going. So, somebody was too fucking strong, and now the leg extension is, let's just say not in tip-top shape. To the point where, there's no chance I would trust this with really heavy weight. But I think just 50 pounds, it's fine. And I don't mean like the cables are fucking, like some of the metal is kind of, let's just make a disclaimer. If I hurt myself on here, there is no lawsuit. This is at my own risk. But since I don't want to go too heavy and push the machine, I'll just do the light single leg. But same style like I was talking about before that I was getting excited for. I'm really going to hold it at the top. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to draw the line at how far I can do these reps. Because I'm not going to give myself assistance because with this weight, this is going to be like 20 reps on either leg. So I almost feel like these few leg extensions to start with are not necessarily like destroying my quads. But after 3 sets of these really squeeze focused leg extensions, I do think that the quads are going to be very, let's just say they will have accrued damage over time. I'm not hitting these like a tank. I'm hitting these like more of a, I can't think of a video game reference. But after a few of these, we can move on to something else. Because I don't want to break this machine any further than somebody already did. Left leg first, since that's the weaker one for me. Okay. Oh. Okay. So these are going to get a little repetitive. I may just add a few clips from each set, but I think I'm not hurting this thing anymore. Do a few more light ones. Then we can move on to something a little more load based, like Smith squats. Or if those feel a little weird, machine leg press. Okay. Oh, oh my back. I feel like such a baby training like this. And not because it's lightweight, but because in my mind, I'm like, fuck, this shit burns. So, I mean, this is the epitome of what I was fucking saying in the car. Even if it's lightweight, you can still go hard. So, I think a few more here, and then we can move on to whatever's next. To be determined. But even though this is like, I mean, look, let's just say this. Anyone and their two kids can leg extension this much weight. But the squeeze is the part that I'm trying to focus on. So a few more. I don't mind camping out here. I love leg extensions. Okay. Ugh. 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 Okay. Oh, left quad gave out a 13, and since it's weaker, I called the right one a 13 too. So they get an even, or no, slightly uneven workload, so the weak one can catch up. But even with fucking, I don't think I've ever gone this light in the last like few years. But even with really lightweight, which I'm glad that was sort of my idea before I got here. It would suck if I was real excited for heavy leg extensions and then get fucking nerfed like this. So good timing. But let's do something. The Smith is taken, so I'll either wait or pick something else. So through a little bit of jerry rigging, I got this bumper plate in between my heels and the pad so I can do heel elevated leg press. But this machine, though I love the range of motion, well, not the range of motion, but just kind of the angles of it, I feel like I'm actually hitting my quads, not my glutes. It's a little light, and there's not really any way to add weight to it. So I'll pre-exhaust by doing some body weight 60 squats first, get to a point decently close to, well, fatigued quads, and then jump on and try to bust out a few reps. So I guess in an ideal world, I'd be able to hit my quads so hard from the 60 squats that I'd be too weak to even get one rep here. But again, it's not that much weight, so I'll definitely get a few. Okay. Yeah. Oh. That's really good. Oh, fuck. Shit. I mean, I think one more of these and then maybe something else, but that's not bad. Oh. Okay. Okay. Let's put this stuff away. I think that's a good spot. Ugh. Ay. Oh, God. Oh, I forgot to turn off the video. Let's go pump down. Okay, so this is moments after that last set. Don't be mad at me for fucking huffing and puffing. Oh, goodness. So, very different than normal. Very different than normal. But do not confuse my logic. I do not necessarily believe that this workout was any degree better than, a more heavy thrashing kind of lift. But it is different. And I think different is a pretty important factor to hit in your workouts, at least every so often, just because, you're going to get used to it in a way, and not even just like physically, but mentally as well. I was just talking to somebody, saying I should probably do more of these lighter squeezing sets, especially for quads. Hamstrings too. Those felt really good, but quads especially, because for me to do a set of leg extensions of like 15 reps really heavy and just hit failure physically, that's kind of easy for me. That's one of my strong points. I can grab a heavy ass curl for 8, hit failure, and then I know that was a good set. I pushed myself as hard as I could. But if you give me, like today, light leg extensions, that second set, when I got to like rep 16 on the left leg, I wanted to just fucking rack it, right? Because it was fucking hurting, So not only do I think there's physical benefits, like I'm hitting my quads in a totally different way today than normal, but also, kind of a mental thing too. To do a set of leg extensions where it's really just fucking burning and your quads are on fire, I think in your mind, that'll kind of toughen you up, at least, relative to working out. So let's pose down. Let's uncover that which is concealed and hopefully be in awe. That's always the end goal. I should probably start wearing smaller shirts on my leg days, because if my shirt is really baggy, I guess anybody, but if your shirt's really baggy and then you've got little shorts on, it kind of gives you the illusion of a way bigger torso and slightly smaller legs. So in terms of bodybuilding and posing and everything else, it is kind of a illusion sort of situation. So any way I can make myself look any bigger than I really am, I'm all for it. Ooh. Okay. Let's run through some poses here. Actually, maybe do a little more of a leg zoom in. Yeah. Legs pumped. Still getting to the point of leanness where I can see separation. Teardrop looking thing, sort of outer quad, and then this medial guy. When I do this sort of pose where I try to spread my leg apart in the morning, unpumped, or just unpumped in general, it is much more defined. But even now, you can still see some of those lines, right? So this is one thing that I'm really excited for as I get leaner, is muscularly, I'm going to start to develop some kind of depth and cross striations on my quads. The left one especially, you can kind of get a hint of it. Like, see how there's kind of some stuff going on? The leaner I get, that is going to get fucking cooler. But let's, you tell me, is that a pair of legs or what? Not too shabby for being, flat. Oh, dude, that's good. I'm pretty fucking happy with that. Of course, I want more, always, but that's pretty thick from the side. And one thing that's kind of cool, the leaner I get, the smaller my butt is going to be. Because I've got a decent amount of fat on my butt too. And that's kind of in terms of the side profile, what's sticking out the most, if we're just being real. So the leaner I get, the smaller my sort of whatever this measurement is, you know, that'll make my hamstrings look bigger in the back, if you follow my logic. But calves, I mean, that's a calf, all right. So plan now is fucking scram. So I'll see you in the car. Yeah. So I'm sure any of you controlled rep, perfect, tempo fans are rather pleased with yourselves seeing me say that I liked that workout. What the? Somebody was beeping. But yeah, good lift. Quads pumped. Really, now that I'm dieting down, that is what my primary focus is on. I'm not necessarily so concerned with really doing as much damage as possible. I mean, that's why I didn't do them because I just didn't want to do them today. I did the 2 leg press sets at the end. But that's why I'm not really a crazy, well, I still go heavy, but I'm not trying to push myself to the absolute limit weight-wise on squats because it's just a lot of fucking damage, man. And not to my quads alone, I mean just to kind of my whole system. You got to think, you've only got so much energy to recover from these workouts. And if you're dieting down, then you really only have so much energy to recover. So if I want to hit my quads and my hamstrings and not anything else, then more isolative work like the hamstring curls and the leg extensions plus a little bit of pressing is just kind of enough. But when I'm fully bulked up, full of fucking carbs and food, I'm sleeping all the time because I'm fucking just tired. There is sort of it's kind of the opposite of what you might expect. When I diet down, that's when I have the most energy levels, just kind of throughout the day, because my blood sugar isn't going bananas and I'm not constantly in a state of digestion. I'm a little bit more of literally a leaner machine. So when I'm bulking up, let's just say it's a very restful time, except for the workouts themselves. But taking all that into account, I don't mind maybe fatiguing my lower back and working my glutes a touch, and just from bracing a really heavy squat, I don't mind the extra energy that it's going to take me to recover from all that, because it's going to let me really wreck my quads. Like heavy pressing in terms of quad destruction, look, that's the way to do it. Now, of course, I love leg extensions too. It's kind of you know what I'm saying. But dieting down, I'm not so concerned with trying to totally destroy myself. I want to have a good workout, get a good pump, go home, stay in my calorie deficit, maintain the muscle that I've already built, and peel off the fat layer on the outside. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm taking it easy, but the process of maintaining muscle is, let's just say, it requires less energy than building it. So dieting down, the nature of your training is it's just going to be less taxing on your whole system. And not just because I'm taking it, well, not taking it easy, but just even if you're training your sets to failure, from being dieted, you are going to be weaker. So for me to do a set of that machine leg press to failure, I took an extra couple of minutes before that second one, so I got a few more reps. But that first set to failure, if I were fully carbed up, and I mean just full of extra sugar water all over and in outside of my muscles, everything, on that set, I would have gotten like fucking 20 reps. So I don't think you should necessarily take your foot off the gas of your intensity just because you're dieting down, because you're already doing that inadvertently by being dieted and you're just in a weaker state. So the training, I think you should always be taking it as far as you can. at least in terms of the individual sets. Now, in terms of overall weight, progressive overload, of course, but I'm not, you're not going to see me add weight to that laying hamstring curl on the side of the stack and try to do, as heavy as that possible. I'm just trying to make sure I hold on to every ounce of hamstring and every ounce of quad and just trim the fat. I'm like a fucking butcher right now, getting real meticulous, not to waste anything. But I have not eaten a lot of fucking food today. Oh my goodness. It's 6 o'clock. I didn't start eating until kind of late, but really all I fucking had was a massive egg white omelet. I'm talking 14 egg whites, chopped, chopped onion, some chopped ham, a little bit of American cheese. I forget what it all added up to. It's like 700 calories ish with the cheese too. But yeah, fuck. I got some room to eat now. Dieting down, you should not consider, or you shouldn't be in the thought process of like starving yourself or trying to see how long you can go without eating. But as long as you have that calorie limit in mind, if you keep all your calories towards the end of the day, it is going to be a little bit easier for you to, well, maybe not easier, but in my experience, it's a little easier for me to be sparse with my calories throughout the day and then have a few of them more at nighttime before I go to bed. Just because the last thing you want to do is go to bed hungry. Because once you open up the floodgates, and if I had a 1,500 calorie breakfast, I'd probably be fucking, ready to eat again in just a few hours. Whereas if I kind of back off, just drink some fucking electrolyte mix for a while, it's a little easier for me to stay under my calorie limit if I don't really start chowing down until noonish. And if you want to take it even crazier, you could do fucking intermittent fasting. I don't necessarily think that it has a crazy, hyper fat burning effect, but let's say you can manage to get from whenever you wake up to do your day till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when you start eating, then you've got what used to be a whole days of food now condensed into like, I don't know, maybe 8 hours if you go to bed at 10 o'clock. So I guess that just depends on your own situation. Because for me to do small meals throughout the day, I do that. I just did that in that little full day of eating 2 days ago. But it's also not that hard for me to go sort of longer periods without eating and start a little bit later towards the workout itself. So, not necessarily a cut and dry rule, but those are sort of things that you can. I think it's going to hit me. Those are things that you can think about, which, depending on your own build and appetite and whatever else. I'm seeing all sorts of crazy cars today. It's just gonna, you'll find out what you like. So for you, maybe you need you need to eat something every 2 hours. Like if you go more than 2 hours without eating something, then you are just gonna fucking overshoot your calorie goal because you're starving and then you overeat. I've done it before. So if that's you, then shit, man, you gotta have small calorie, let's just say calorie light meals on a repetitive basis. Whereas, if you're maybe a little bit prone to skip breakfast, save your calories for later in the day, then your meals can be a little more hearty, as it were. But something to think about. No matter what the case, though, you have to be in a fucking calorie deficit. I can't say that enough. I feel like I don't think I'm ever gonna get tattoos, but if I did, I'd want fucking calorie deficit and calorie surplus right here. That's how much I believe in it. And it's not even a belief, it's just a known fact, you know. So I feel like I'm just repeating the same speech. I'll say it again just to get it off my mind. If you want to grow, you need to eat more. If you're not growing, then you're not eating enough. And vice versa. If you want to get leaner, you have to eat less. And if you're not getting leaner, then you're eating too much. And I know that's not really advice because that doesn't really explain how to do it. But it is pretty much 100% fucking guaranteed rule, unless unless you're like sick. If you're sick, your weight is going to fluctuate pretty weirdly. But that's if you're in good shape, no, you don't get hit with the flu or anything. Your weight fluctuations are purely going to be dependent on your calorie intake and expenditure. So you don't even have to get that serious about it. Just using kind of old school bro sciencey methods, you could get fucking lean. If you absolutely do not want to cut calories or count your calories, and you're just like, dude, Sam, I don't want to fucking deal with that. I it's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with counting my calories. I just want a real simple diet. Yeah, I mean, if I if someone were to only eat like chicken breast and mustard, and that's the only thing they're allowed to eat, plus your multivitamins and electrolyte drinks so that you stay well hydrated and you don't develop any deficiencies, then yeah, if you did that for 6 weeks, you'll be noticeably leaner because you're probably not going to overeat on plain ass chicken and mustard, you know. But that's stupid. I mean, if I did that for the last 3 weeks, and all I did was just chicken breast with like mustard or whatever, that was my rule, and I stuck to it. Yeah, I'd be getting fucking pretty lean. But that's silly, That's not a and stuff like that. That used to be pretty fucking classic. Like those were classic, body fat loss diets. Not that I was around for those, but that's some shit that people were doing. Kind of old school bodybuilder ish, by the book, eat your chicken, eat your broccoli, whatever. But that doesn't make sense to me. Or at least it doesn't really get me going. Like I don't hear that and think, wow, that sounds so fun. That sounds like something I'll really enjoy. The effort that you put into calorie tracking, it's not wasted because you get to fucking eat whatever you want. Like the the layman when it comes to dieting, if they saw if they saw me with a bowl of ice cream, they would think Sam is lying about his fucking diet. He's not dieting. He's fucking eating ice cream. He's gonna get fat from that. Whereas me, the insider, who knows I just tracked 20 grams of fat and 80 grams of carbs, which is a pretty dense meal for not that much, feeling of fullness. Like that wouldn't really fill me up, but it would kind of just be a sweet treat. And I would kind of want to have smaller meals around that to make up for having such a big calorie hit right in that moment. But if everything else is tracked, and at the end of the day, I'm still at my 2,500, 2,700 calories, guess who's going to get abs? Guess who's going to get veins? Right? Moi. Now, that is not a recommendation, and I do tend to back off on the sugar intake when I diet down because I get in a fucking sensitive state. When I'm bulking up and I'm constantly eating all the time, hundreds of carbs per meal, then it doesn't really bother me to have kind of blood sugar fluctuations. Because whenever you eat anything, your blood sugar is going to spike. But since I'm eating so much food constantly, it's almost like I'm in a constant state of being full. So even though my blood sugar is probably going bananas from eating so much food all the time, it is probably relatively stable up in this whatever end. Nothing crazy. I'm not talking in the hundreds, but whatever. If you know anything about what your blood glucose level should be. But when I diet down and I'm eating like the oatmeal shakes or steak and rice or whatever, I do stick to more conventional foods and stay away from sugars because it'll fucking crash my blood sugar, man. Right now I'm very insulin sensitive, as it were. So whenever I have a treat like that, like if I were to eat, if you gave me a bag of fruit snacks, pretty much 100 grams of sugar, or I think it's like 90-ish, I would not be so concerned that it's going to make me gain weight because it's going to fit my macros. I'm not going to overeat. I'm still going to be in a calorie deficit. But that many simple carbs all at once in a dieting phase, it is going to have an effect on me. To the point where after like a fucking, after 30 minutes or an hour, my blood sugar is going to crash, and then I'm going to feel like I want to fucking take a nap. So I'm not saying you should do it, but if you do want to have a treat, it's really not going to hurt you. That's my that's my take there, and I wouldn't even call that a take. That's just fucking legit. That's only for the context of just general fat loss. If I were trying to, I mean, I don't know jack about like a peak week or anything, but I probably wouldn't be eating too many like protein bars or, um, well, just any. I wouldn't be eating any treats, even if it fits the macros. I wouldn't want to really mess with all my. Well, I don't even know. I've never competed before, so I guess I'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for something like that, if you're a real fucking competitive bodybuilder, that last few weeks of dieting down, show ready lean, yeah, you're probably not going to want to eat any fucking treats because you don't want to throw your equilibrium off. You really want to kind of lock in. But if you're just more of a, well, not even just an advanced or intermediate lifter, if you're just trying to lose body fat, flexible dieting, macro tracking, I think that's the best fucking method. And if I didn't, then I would do something else. And if I wasn't getting any results from it, then I definitely would do something else. That's the main point. No matter what you want to do, be it training, uh, rep schemes or workouts or your diet or how much fluids you're intaking every day, there is value to not even conforming to the general consensus of what's right and wrong. Because if you're making results, you're getting gains, then guess what? You're doing it right. Now, I do think everybody could do it a little better. I'm always trying to improve my training, my everything. I want to grow, and I want to grow faster. But as long as you're growing, I think just fucking up the intensity, go a little bit harder, get some more sleep, probably keep growing, at least for a good while. So plan now is head home, eat. Fuck, I can pretty much eat whatever I want. I'm gonna go to bed kind of soon. Finish my laundry that I brought home from school, and then study some system modeling. Tell me, uh, tell me this. Do you know anything about solenoids and fucking couplers? Because if you don't, then you are no help to me. That's, that's all I got. I'm sure I'll fucking feel my quads tomorrow, and probably not even. Well, yeah, those leg press sets were pretty good. Honestly, I probably should have done a drop set on that last one. But that's on me. So plan tomorrow is a good chest day. Gym undecided, but getting leaner by the day at this point, which I am all for. So, as much as I can't wait to bulk, I can be patient. I can be patient. I can wait another 7 weeks. Because the leaner you are before a bulk, the harder and easier it is for you to get into it. If you already started kind of a higher body fat, for one thing, you're just setting yourself up for failure because now you're going to have to lose even more body fat when you diet down in the future. Because I mean, unless your end goal is perma bulked, I feel like everybody wants to bulk up, gain size, so that they can diet down and see the muscle that they built underneath. If you're unless you're Karakios grizzly maxing, then putting on too much body fat will kind of be a little bit. Let's just say it'll be a little bit more of a setback than normal. So if you can maybe take a month or two, try to trim off a couple of pounds, and then dive all in head first, bulk wise, I think you'll have a better time. But that's all I got. Home, food, sleep, repeat. perfect cycle in my mind. So I'll see you next time.